Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Tiff Jones here with you for your Mindful Monday. We're going to discuss Elevate You, finding your true identity to build self-confidence. So I actually just talked to a couple pro athletes. I work with individual pro athletes every now and then. And yesterday I just happened to talk to three of them. And the very first thing I ask them during our very first session is I want to know who they are. And so this always gives me insight in terms of where their thinking is, what their goals are, what their why is without going into what's your why. And it really helps. So the very first thing I want you to do is get out a piece of paper. And at the very top of the blank piece of paper, all I want you to do is write I am. And I'll show you an example here. And you are not allowed to write anything. You're allowed to write anything but coach. So you can't write, I am a coach. Anything else you want to write is fair game. So what you're going to do is it's just going to look like this. I am, and you're just going to write down some bullet points about anything. And I will give you examples in a second, but if you want to hit pause and do this activity while we're doing this, that would be probably highly recommended. Okay, so now I'm going to assume that you hit pause and now you're back with us. Here are some examples of what I find a lot of coaches or professional athletes. I mean, you're a profession. This is a profession. Celia talks about it all the time. Being a coach is a profession, just like being a professional athlete. And so here are some of the common things that I will find that people will write down. These are not mine, though I will say I put impatient down there as not a great positive, because that's one of my I ams that are not the greatest thing on the planet. And so these are the things that you would start to see. I wonder, the questions you should be asking yourself is, how hard was it not to write coach? Or why did you want to write I am a coach so badly? And if we're debriefing this, I want you to be very clear is that who you are probably allows you to be a really good coach. Honestly, if you go through the list of things, it's probably what allows you to be great at this profession. However, you have to understand that it's not who you are. So who you are is not what you do. And so without coaching, you are still who you are. As a professional athlete, even if you are no longer playing your sport, you are still those things that you wrote down after I am. And the problem is that if you forget that that's who you are, and our identity lies in results, our identity lies in where I lost. And if I lost and my identity is just as a coach, then I'm a bad coach. I'm a bad human. Just like one of your athletes, if they only see their identity as a tennis player, then if they have a bad tennis match, then they're a bad human. And so, but if all they are is I play tennis, okay, and I know I'm still all these things and I just had a bad practice, then that's all it is a bad practice and you can move on. And I find more often than not, coaches link the fact that who they are and what they see in terms of their product of their team and the results as this makes and defines me as a human being. And we need to make sure that we separate those out. Now, what I will challenge is how many of you put I'm an athlete on your list. So as coaches, most of us probably played our sport or played a sport growing up. And I would love to know how many of you were willing or able to put athlete on there, because athlete to me is different than being a coach. Athlete to me is different than being a golfer, a tennis player, a basketball player. Being an athlete starts here and it's here. Okay, so you can be an athlete for life, and you don't need the physical part to be an athlete. You don't need the physical part of you to be a great coach. You need up here and you need here. And so it's the passion and it's the mental toughness and it's the grit and it's the resilience and sticking to the process. That is going to be things that even if you get out of coaching are still things you're going to be able to take with you and apply to any other aspect of your life. So that's a great exercise. I would post it on things. I would add to it. I would challenge yourself. I would show this to your team. I would show this to other coaches. I would show this to your mentor. And it's a great tool to keep going back to. The other part of this, the last thing you can do, and I know Celia will like this, is like what your superpower is. I just did this with a team, a rowing team not that long ago, and it really worked well. So look at it like this. So go back to your list and think about, what do you naturally excel at? And that might be who you are. Like often who we are a lot of times are the things that we actually say, hey, I'm really good at this and this is why I do these things. But what do you naturally excel at? Meaning, what does your team or other coaches come to you about? Like, what are the things that they really are knocking on your door, and what kind of questions are they asking you? A lot of that is going to reveal how people perceive kind of what your strengths are, or what are you really good at. And then what I want you to do is I want you to take that and I want you to start to load your utility belt. I want you to be a superhero. What are your superpowers? Design this for yourself. Think about it. I'm a big superhero kind of thing. I just watched X-Men Flight of the Phoenix or whatever on my way out here to California. And I love it. I love thinking of like putting on the uniform or going into a game or practice and thinking of myself as like a superhero in a way, that I have these strengths that I'm going to be able to bring to the field. Or when I do my consulting, like I walk in and I kind of like, okay, here I am. I like get all pumped up and I'm like ready to go. And so what are those skills, those complementary skills that would be on your utility belt as a superhero? And I want you to design it. There's actually apps out there where you can plug in a bunch of different of your characteristics or what you excel at and create your own like cartoon superhero. And I think it's a cool thing. This is something you can do with your teams, and then use your superpowers. I think a lot of times coaches look at like what you're not good at, and we forget about like what we are good about and what our strengths are. We can't be good at everything, and we can't be all things to all people. So my challenge is to take the I am and then maybe take it a step further. And who would you look like? What are your superpowers? And who would you be as a superhero? And maybe like come up with a name for yourself. And I mean, sometimes we all have to fake it till we make it, till we become it. And so sometimes I think this is a good thing. I'm designing my superhero right now. I can't wait to see what the cartoon of it looks like, but here we go. But the last thing I'll say is watch for your kryptonite. Often our greatest superpower, our greatest strength, if we're not careful, can become our kryptonite. So if you're someone that is a coach that is so compassionate and that allows you to build relationships, how does that, if we do too much or it goes off the deep end a little bit, how does that end up hurting us? And so we need to be careful that maybe you care too much about what people think of you, or we start allowing others' perspectives to redefine who we see, what we see when we look in the mirror. So often our greatest superpowers, if we're not careful, become our kryptonite. And so just understanding, again, what are our strengths, what do we see when we look in the mirror, and it can't be coach. It should be a bunch of other things that allow us to be a great coach. So that's my challenge to you on this great Monday morning, Mindful Monday. And if you guys have any questions for me or want further information on any of this, please let me know and you can reach out at this information. Have a great day, coaches.